Welcome back to Just 15 Minutes, the space where leaders share the real practices that keep them steady under pressure. Today, I'm joined by Robin Daniels, the Chief Business Officer at Zensai. Welcome, Robin.
Hey Eric, it's good to see you, man.
Good to see you too. So today, I thought that we could do just a slight, it's not quite a whistle, it's more of a just pursed lips, just breath.
Okay.
So we're going to inhale through the nose and then we'll just like gently releasing pressure from the body. And
Sounds
so we'll
great.
do that 3 times together.
Okay.
Okay. So we'll inhale through the nose and then let it out. Two more like that. Inhale through the nose and out. Last one, in through the nose. And then we'll take a moment to let the breath return back to natural. And we'll come into the space together.
We should do more of this. That was nice.
I, I agree. Just a little bit of regulation to start. And that
Mhm.
way we come together, even though we're distant, we're still a little more connected.
I love it. I love it.
All right, Robin. So today I would like to chat with you a little bit more about your LinkedIn handle that is the Vibe Magician. And I want to understand a little bit more about the ways in your life that you bring magic
Mm.
into the day to day.
It's something I added recently because when I think back on my career uh, and the things I've been a part of and the things that give me joy more than anything, it's really not the tactical stuff as much, even though I think that's very important. It's really around how do I create the conditions for magic to happen? And I think of myself as kind of like the uber magician, not as I'm the best, but as in like trying to coalesce a people, a group of sorcerers or magicians who are so good at what they do, and what they end up coming together with is much better than the individual parts of them just doing things on their own. And I've always like found so much joy in like being able to put amazing people together in the best possible way and create the conditions for magic to happen. And what does that mean? Well, that means that you show up and you give people the freedom and the trust and the love and support that they need every single day so they can be their best. And yes, it's an ideal to do it every day. And I know the reality of life and work is a little bit different. You can't be your best every day. I think that's an unrealistic ideal. You'll have bad days personally and also at work. But my job as a leader, now having led anything from really small teams to really large teams, is doesn't change the fact that my job is to give them the love, support, trust, conditions that they need to be the best that they can be every single day. And when I see people not doing so well, I have to lean in and try to fix it. And when I see teams doing really well, I try to encourage more of it or get out of the way as much as I can. But that's ultimately what this is about. Is it's really about the teams coming together and just doing incredible things. So when they look back on their lives 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, they look back on that moment that we were together and with pride and love and think we did something meaningful together. That time we spent together was worth it. It was worth the long hours or me not seeing my friends or family, or it was worth it. And we created something enduring that we're proud of. That's worth it to me.
I love what you're saying because it's bringing in the value of work. Work is important and work can be meaningful if we create the right conditions for that meaningful magic to exist. And what
Yes.
it sounds like too is it's creating the safety for people to be able to bring themselves, whether they are
Hmm.
at their best or not,
Hmm.
just the willingness to participate. And so I'm curious
Yes.
about how do you create those conditions in yourself first and foremost to then be able to bring it into the office environment?
It's two things. I think one is trying to be as honest as I can be with myself about how I'm feeling, and
Mm,
um, and trying to honor that in some ways. Not every day can be a great day, but a lot of times they are, because it's how I intend them to be. Knowing that you're in control of a lot more of your life and your energy than you kind of maybe give yourself credit for. I think of it this way: is that there's so many things outside of my control. What people do with you know uh, the information they have, or how they react and so on, I can't control it. What I can control 100% is the way I show up and the way I lean into things. And it sounds easy. Oh, that's, of course you can, but it's actually not that easy on paper, right? Like, I was traveling last week, lots of flight delays. Of course frustrating. There's not really anything I can do about it anyway. So it was like, do I just get frustrated, or do I just kind of ground myself and take a moment to ground myself? And that's true of life in general. As I think about the way I show up, whether I'm having a one-on-one or a team meeting, or I'm speaking at a big event or something like that, the way I show up, I can control. Again, it doesn't mean it's easy. If somebody cuts me off in traffic, or my kid's being a jerk to me in the morning, or your partner is not like doing what you want them to do, right? It's like, or things at work are not going perfectly. It's like, all of these things, still doesn't change the fact the way you show up every day, you control 100%. And so I'm very mindful, especially in the team conditions, because I know as a leader, people, they pay a lot more attention to, of course, what you say. And so this say do ratio, I think, also has to be there. What you say and what you do has to be so aligned. I think you lose a lot of trust with your team if that's not aligned. And honestly, you also end up losing a lot of trust with yourself, because you're constantly then trying to battle something externally that doesn't feel true internally. And so the more you can live in, I would say, harmony with what you're doing externally and what you feel internally, the more happy you will be. And I see a lot of people not honoring that because they think they have to be a certain way. So I'm also trying to, I guess what I'm saying is, I'm also trying to encourage my teams to be as much in harmony with their inner self and their outer self as well, because they'll just lead to much more. And guess what? If you're a happier employee, if you're a happier person, happier human, you will end up doing better, more meaningful work. I see these studies that say this, and I'm like, yeah, of course they do. No shit. It's so obvious.
It really is. It's like, we need science to prove it, but it's something we feel anyway. We know it. We know it in our core. The
Yes.
say do ratio, right?
Hmm.
If I am saying show up as your fullest, but I'm not doing that myself, if I'm saying
Exactly.
come into this present moment grounded, but I'm not doing that, there is a
Hmm.
disconnect there. And I love that
Yes.
you said that there's so much out of our control that it can spike our nervous systems. And
Yes.
that's
Yes.
okay. Like, that's fine. But how do we
Totally.
come down from that? And so I'm
Hmm.
curious about some of the ways in which you ground yourself. You get cut off from
Hmm.
traffic. Your kid's not doing what you want to do. The
Hmm.
work's not happening exactly as you planned it. And all of a sudden, spiked nervous system. How do you ground yourself in that moment to bring yourself back in?
It's a super important question, and I would say I've been on a journey for the last 10 years to really kind of get better at it, and so I can be much more in control of how I feel, how I show up, and so on. A couple of different things that I do, honestly. I think breathing is probably number one. Just taking a moment to pause and breathe, like kind of like what you just said. It's a beautiful thing that you do to start this off with. It's so important. I mean, this is one of the best ways to, of course, ground your nervous system. I went even on a retreat to Italy a few years ago where I learned some of the same things. This can sound obvious, and everyone says, yeah, "Of course, breathing." So, but actually, being conscious about it and stopping up to do it, very different than knowing about it. So that's number one. Number two, which is a huge lever for me, is change my state. And one of the fastest ways to do that, music, honestly. I can't imagine my life without music, but it's such a great way to change your emotional state instantly. If you're frustrated, put on some pump up music. If you're already pumped up and you need to go the other way, and you need to be contemplative and think deeply, then maybe put on some more classical or relaxing music. So I think music is just one of the best ways for me personally to change my state. It has such an emotional impact on how I feel and think in the moment that I use it just as a great lever. And then number three, exercise if I can. Exercise or movement, so important for me too. It's why I run, or I'm like at my most creative, I would say, when I'm out exercising, because I spend a lot of time in meetings or with people, and I love it. It's kind of I excel at. I think I get a lot of joy from, but it doesn't change the fact I also really like time for myself and just my own thoughts. And that's exercise for me. It's like my sacred time when nobody talks to me, nobody's asking me for anything, and just me ruminating on things I need to solve or new creative ideas that I want to kind of like see to come to light. So yeah, I would say breath, music, exercise for me are just kind of my three pillars.
I love it. Three access points to embodiment of
Mm-hmm.
not turning off the head, right? We want alignment between head, heart, body.
Yeah.
And so embodiment, getting into the body, helps us to get out of our head because we are so
Yeah.
focused up here so often. And
Mm-hmm.
it's about bringing it all online together. And so the three things that you mentioned, sound, attention, visualization,
Mm-hmm.
breath, and
Yeah.
movement all coming together. That's the lineage in which I'm trained. Those are the five instruments that we use to get into the body.
Oh,
And
yeah. Yeah.
that's exactly what you're doing. And
Yeah.
I think it's so beautiful to talk about how, yes, we can go on retreats, we can have these big
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
experiences, but
Yeah.
really it's about how do I bring it into my daily life because it doesn't
Yes.
take long. It takes 5 minutes.
Totally.
It doesn't, it takes 30 seconds as we demonstrated, right?
Totally. Totally. It's funny, I it's a perfect segue because I feel the same. That there's so much knowledge out there about how to live the perfect life. You do this and you do this and you do this, and then you'll sleep perfectly. You'll have perfect mindset, perfect body, whatever it is. And I'm just like, the reality of life is that life is dynamic. It's not static, and everyone's life is very different. I'll tell you my personal story with it is that my sleep got very broken during many years of high intense work in Silicon Valley, and so I ended up going to a sleep retreat. And I've read all the books about sleep, and I've listened to podcasts and articles and the science and so on. But it all says the same thing: is that it kind of assumes you live a static life. You wake up at the same time every day. You go to bed at the same time. You're always sleeping in the same bed. You have a temperature control room. You eat those kind of foods and so on. And I'm just like, that's not my reality. I travel a lot. I like to travel. I'm not trying to be perfect. I'm not trying to be a monk either. I want to experience everything life has to offer. And I like to go out and be social with friends, not all the time, but every now and then. And so I need the sleep hacks for a dynamic life, I told them when I came to this retreat. I don't need the sleep hacks for a perfect life because it's just not my reality. And so if you tell me to do all these things, I already know that the science behind it, but it's not my reality. And it's not going to be my, because I'm not going to look back on my life when I'm 90 and be like, oh, I lived a perfect life. I got up at the same time every day. I slept the same place every day. I travel up. I'm in new beds all the time. I'm in different time zones. I like to go out with customers or the team or my family. It's like, I need the sleep hacks for a dynamic life. But that's not just sleep hacks. You could say the same about how you exercise or how you think about work or how you think about it. It's just like, of course, you want to try to optimize so you can be in the best kind of state of mind, physically, mentally, emotionally, but also just being kind with yourself that we live in a dynamic life. And if you're trying to be perfect and you're trying to expect that of yourself all the time, because I think I was trying to do that, you just end up like letting yourself down or feeling kind of shitty all the time. That's not a great feeling either. So you got to change your mindset. Like, what can I do with the path that I've taken in some ways?
Exactly.
And that's
Per-
kind of the journey that I'm on.
yeah. Perfectionism is understandable. I can understand that path. I've been on that path. And
Mm-hmm.
then realizing the limiting nature of that. And then
Yeah,
the liberation that comes from, oh, life is dynamic and life is meant to be
totally.
lived
Yes.
spontaneously and in the moment.
Uh, totally.
We can't
Well,
always control
where are
everything.
you right now? You're in a park, right? I mean, you're not like
Uh,
sitting at home in a perfect condition, right?
no, exactly. I've got cars going by and I'm like, that's just what's
Exactly.
happening. This is what's
Exactly.
happening. And so,
Exactly.
Robin, our time has come to a close together. Thank you so, so much for joining me here. Really beautiful teachings of bringing magic into your environment by really looking at your own internal conditions and then how you can bring that to more people is really, really beautiful. And I appreciate you so much. I'm going to close out this space with just a moment of gratitude. So if you'd like to join me, bring a gesture of reverence.
Mhm.
It is with deep appreciation and gratitude. I thank you. I thank myself. I thank all of the teachers, guides, and mentors that came before us and all of those that are coming after us. Thank you so much.